NBC4, Laurel Erickson. This is News Conference.
If nothing else, America's baby boomers planted the seed. The world cheers. President-elect Barack Obama acts, and a new poll shows 67% of American voters are optimistic and proud of the country. Only 53% voted for Obama. Our guest, talk show host Larry Elder.
Reach out in the darkness. Remember that song, Friend and Lover? Well, we are not going to reach out in the darkness. We're going to reach for the light this morning. We have radio talk show host Larry Elder here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been too long.
It has been.
Yeah.
All right, Larry Elder, you independent, grumpy kind of guy some days. Who'd you vote for?
I voted for Dennis Kucinich.
You did not.
No, of course not.
You voted Republican.
I voted for John McCain.
What do you expect of an Obama White House? What is it going to mean to America, both symbolically and also hard tax politics, getting something done?
Well, on the symbolism part, obviously it makes a statement about America, how far we've come in race relations. It is a statement that, frankly, I always knew would happen. I always felt that there would someday be a black president within my lifetime. I felt Colin Powell, Laurel, could have become president had he wanted the nomination. So for some people, this is a statement to America that you can be anything you want to be and achieve something. For me, for Larry Elder, because of my parents who motivated me, I always believed I could achieve. But there are a lot of people who are now, only now, including a lot of young blacks, believing for the first time that they can be all they can be. So to that extent, I think it's a good thing to motivate people.
Friday, Barack Obama, president-elect, held a news conference talking about the economy. So the other part of that question is hard tax accomplishment. What do you expect to see out of an Obama White House? What can he actually accomplish given the state of things?
Well, he can make things worse. He ran promising to raise taxes on the so-called rich. He wanted to raise capital gains taxes. He wanted to raise dividends. He is a protectionist, or at least he said that he was going to renegotiate NAFTA. NAFTA has been an economic boon for the United States, for Canada, and for Mexico. It would be ill-advised to do that. He also has what I consider to be an immature position on foreign policy, that somehow you can sit down with bad people and let them know that you really are sincere, unlike the dark, deep George W. Bush, and suddenly that they'll come to the table
and be
sensible.
W. Bush?
I think he is one of the most maligned presidents I've ever seen. This is a man who kept us safe for 7 years. For most of the time during his term, the economy has performed well because of the Bush tax cuts. We have not been hit anywhere in the world in the last 5 years in any major way. He made what I consider to be probably the most courageous presidential decision I've ever seen, and that was to surge in 2006 when the Republicans lost control of the House and of the Senate. And the surge has worked and has turned this Iraq around, and that's why Barack Obama has been able to come in now and say, we're going to have a timetable to get out of Iraq. But for Bush surging, he would not be able to say that, and Bush has gotten no credit, and I think it's really an insult to the job that Bush has done that he's getting no credit whatsoever by Democrats and to some extent even by Republicans.
President Jimmy Carter left office with a great big cloud over his head in terms of handling the situation in Iran and other situations, and yet he has been able to rehabilitate his legacy, if you will, in a global and humanitarian way.
In your opinion, but yes.
Well, many people would say so. You may not. But at any rate, I'm trying to help you out on this, Larry.
I think Jimmy Carter has been a worse ex-president than he's been president.
Okay, President Bush, given the picture you've just painted of President Bush, will he be able to in any way rehabilitate his legacy and his place in the history books?
Yes, he will. In fact, there was an article on CNN just the other day that I read, Laurel, where these two historians said, you know, thinking about it fairly, he inherited 9/11. He had nothing to do with that. Thinking about it fairly, Katrina, you know, that happened on his watch. He had nothing to do with that. Thinking about it fairly, the financial meltdown, he had nothing to do with. And
what do you mean he had nothing to do with?
I'm telling you what the historian said.
Okay.
And Iraq is now turning around, so maybe in the fullness of time, historians will revisit their hostility towards George W. Bush. I believe that will happen. George Bush's biggest thing was the war in Iraq. And if Iraq becomes a democracy, and if this democracy has an effect on other countries in the Middle East, we're going to look back upon George W. Bush and call him a liberator, and that he turned the debate from America has been hostile towards the Middle East too. We've had these dictators who have hurt our economy and oppressed our people. And now we have a thriving democratic Iraq, and that has produced results in Lebanon and in Syria, all because George W. Bush lit a match. I think 20, 30 years from now, Laurel, that's what historians, fair-minded historians, will say.
Although people now say that the reason the surge worked was many reasons, not just the surge, that there were other things going on in terms of different leaders in Iraq that made it happen.
You take away Bush putting 30,000 troops there, you don't have the surge. You have chaos, you have defeat. And Bush stood up against members of his own cabinet, Laurel, and said, I'm going to do this. And he did it, and he deserves huge credit for it, and he's getting nothing.
There was a poll that said 67% of Americans say that they are optimistic and proud of their country, even though significantly fewer Americans voted for Barack Obama. So what's going on here? Is it euphoria, a moment in time, a new world?
I think it's all of the above. I also believe that despite what people think, the economy is fundamentally sound. Despite what people think, America is generally respected around the world. And when you look at immigrants, world immigrants, half of them come to the United States. We must be doing something right. People, for the most part, are proud to be here. People, for the most part, believe that America is the country where you can go from nothing to something, as did Barack Obama.
Or you can go from something to nothing. The latest job...
That's right. You can go down.
the latest job figures show the jobless rate is at a 14-year high. You know, more than a quarter of a million jobs lost. What is going to happen with the economy in this country and Obama? I mean, how long does he have for a honeymoon? Long
term, we're going to be fine. Short term, we're going to have problems. The reason we're going to have problems is because Obama has made the same mistake that George W. Bush has made, and that is to panic. We have come in and we promised to bail out the very people that have made bad decisions. We promised to buy commercial paper. We promised to take equity in banks. This is the kind of stuff that you'd expect.
But your guy wanted to go out and buy all the bad loans.
And I criticized it. I absolutely did criticize it. He should have done the same thing Ronald Reagan did when the market crashed in 1987. Reagan said the economy is fundamentally sound. He got criticized by Time and Newsweek. They said that he was raising the specter of Herbert Hoover. What happened? The economy turned around, the market restored itself within 2 years, and we were off to the races.
You've got a Republican governor not particularly liked by Republicans, elected by Democrats, but calling for a $0.015 sales tax increase, calling for work furloughs, and we saw how well that worked in the city of L.A., and calling for cuts in service. So what happens with this in California?
We're going to keep spending. We're going to keep having budgetary deficits because of much of the spending is structural, on automatic pilot. The spending for health care, the spending for prisons, the spending for education, all of that is pretty much on automatic pilot. What Schwarzenegger could have done and should have done is put all the legislators in a room when he first got elected, when he was still feared, and said, I will not allow you to leave the room until we have 10% cuts all across the board, and we're going to have increases consistent only with the population and with inflation. And until and unless we come up with a deal, nobody leaves this room. He didn't do that.
One last question really fast, because they're giving us a time cue. The Obama campaign... I know you are, and I'm trying to tell...
Racism has reared its ugly head once again.
Oh, let's not go down that road.
On Laurel's show. I am shocked.
Our producer
I am shocked and offended and appalled. After a brother has become president of the United States, I thought to get more respect from you.
Now we've got a producer who's watching that clock, watching the crew time. All right.
I've got Al Sharpton on speed dial.
Oh, gosh, please.
Yeah.
He's a good speaker. Don't we like him? Don't we? We like him. We've had him.
No justice! No peace!
We've had him here. Let me ask you one quick question, because Yvonne's giving me the hook.
All right.
Okay, the Obama campaign, tightly wrapped. Muslim people were not even allowed in pictures in Detroit. You know, it's a perfect picture. Arnold Schwarzenegger came into office tightly wrapped. A lot of reporters complaining they couldn't really get access to him. Will that be the kind of Obama White House we see? What do you expect?
It's not about how tightly wrapped you are. It's about what your policies are. And you can be tightly wrapped and have good policies and have good results. You can be loosely wrapped and have bad policies and have bad results. He managed a campaign extremely efficiently with great discipline. I expect his White House to be the same way. I just don't think his tax, spend, and regulate policies are good for the country.
Larry Elder, thank you very much. And Yvonne, wherever you are, we're going to take a break. Next up, Prop 8.